Every cultural region has its own artifacts, unique and endemic, made by the peoples who live there. Some of these artifacts, such as the Southern California soapstone universe effigies, previously covered on this channel, were used for rituals. This was the case for the human hair capes made by the peoples of the Baja California Peninsula. They are attested to being used by the Cochimi and Guayacura in the middle of the peninsula, and possibly the Monkey, denoting the southernmost extent in the creation of this object, and the Kiliwa and even the western Kumeyaay. According to Kiliwa mythology, the tradition of creating these capes, which are called Pachugos in their language, dates back to the creation of the world, made from the hair of virgins who had died. Yet there exists no consensus as to where the hair was sourced from. According to Friar Luis Salas' account in the late 1700s of a hair cape used by an unspecified Baja Californian tribe, the cape was referred to as a, quote, a sort of rain cape of dead men's hair, unquote. Here's his full account of what he witnessed. Quote, when all are gathered, ornamented with charcoal and yellow, the old man places himself in the center of the circle. Under his arm he has a doubled mat of rushes in which he hides the rain cape from the fiesta. On another little stick he has the hair of the dead man, suspended. He indicates silence, puts on the rain cape of the hair of the dead, and causes as much horror as when a bear appears. He plays a whistle and tells them that the dead man is coming, but however much they look, they do not see him coming. Nevertheless, they believe it. Then he shows them the little stick with the hair of the dead man, and tells them that he is there, that they see him, and they see nothing. However, they give cries, they pull their hair, and make other ridiculous actions. Finally, relieved by the crying, the old man comforts them. He puts 1,000 questions to the head of hair, and he himself answers them to his liking, unquote. It is believed that he witnessed a Niue, or ghost calling ceremony, a ritual performed by the Baja Californian indigenous peoples, notably the Kiliwa. Yet, a discrepancy exists, as the Kiliwa had an aversion to handling the dead. What is more likely, it is theorized, is that the hair was sourced from people who had lived long ago, but were now deceased. If the hair was sourced from the dead, there would be accounts by missionaries stating that the hair of the dead was removed in the burial practices of these peoples. Not to mention that Friar Salas' account of a Niue is the only account of a hair cape referenced as using hair sourced from the dead. Other ethnographic accounts state other sources as to how hair was acquired, from mourners, in payment for administering cures, or for instructing boys. Some supplemental accounts put any ideas that the Pachugos were made from the deceased's hair to rest, since there is an aversion to handling the deceased's remains, seen as a source of malignance. One source writes how some Baja Californian indigenous groups, when finding a member who died from unnatural causes, would cut the hair of the deceased. Then they would take vengeance on the supposed perpetrator by killing them, and stuffing the hair of the victim into their mouth. How are these capes made? It is important to understand that the knowledge of how to craft these capes was only known to the shamans who used them. Luckily, fragments of these capes have been found in the archaeological record and give us an understanding as to how they were made. One fragment belonging to the Palmer collection is a perfect example of how the cape was created. The hanks of hair measured 12.7 centimeters to 27.5 centimeters, or 5 to 11 inches. They are held together with a single agave cord and pitch. They are then secured into a 2-ply cord knotted overhand, following the tie twinning techniques seen in the matting of the region. This is how the hanks of hair would be secured and fastened to create the cape. In this example, a string of olivella shells was fastened around another cord that was fastened within a hank of hair. The pachugo, or human hair cape, is a very important example of how the peoples of Baja California had a complex system of rituals that involved the use and creation of magical religious artifacts to aid in them.